Hello, hello. I hope everybody's having a good day so far. We'll start the lesson in about 41 seconds. Just need to check a few things here to make sure they're working. I think everything is working good. This will be quiz mode, by the way. I'll explain more about that in a little bit. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. Freddie Wolf, Wanda, Lolly Lolly, Key Park, Modags. Good to see all of you there. Hopefully the lesson starts soon. I'm ready to go in about 15 seconds. Hopefully the lesson actually, I think it's going to start. Whew. Good. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson where I'm going to quiz you on some English sports words and phrases. What that means, what quiz mode means, is that instead of showing you the word with a picture, I'm first going to just show you the picture, and I'm going to describe what the word that I'm looking for that picture represents. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. So basically, if you attended the last lesson, if you watched the last lesson, you'll know that I show a picture. I talk about it for about 10 or 15 seconds, and then I allow you time to guess what the word is, and then I tell you what the word is. So hopefully you enjoy this English lesson about sports that we're going to do in quiz mode. It should be a lot of fun. So again, when I show you the picture, you can do whatever you want. You can write down the word on a piece of paper. You can type it in the chat. You can do what you need to do to show that you know the word. So let me see here. What do we got going on in the chat? We have Freddie Wolf, Hafiez, Ralph, Lolly Lolly, Ziba. I need my glasses to say hi to everyone. Felipe, Etienne, Ralph, Wanda Prado, Hafiez. Scroll back. I see Key Park, Ang, Paco San, Wanda Prado, Mode Eggs. A lot of familiar faces, and I'm going to neglect saying hi to everyone. But hi to Kuhn, Marina, Fabio, Samuel, Vlad. Good to see all of you here. I hope you're excited. Remember, if you have a question, please use the form. There's a link in the description below, and Nightbot will share the form over there in the chat as well. And if you are a member, you can type !link, and the link will pop up if you all of a sudden have a question that you want to ask. But other than that, enjoy fun conversations in the chat. Type your answers in the chat as we do this quiz mode lesson about sports. I was going to say one more thing. I can't remember what it is. So I think we'll get this lesson started. Here we go. So these are the people that go to watch a game. There's a couple different names for what we call these people. But if you see over here, we have what looks like a football pitch, and we have a whole bunch of people all wearing red. I'm going to imagine that this might be a Toronto FC game, because that's I think that's their colors. But yeah, what would you call these people? There's a couple different names for the people that you see there. I don't want to reveal it. I almost said the word once or twice. This is a little tricky for me sometimes. But what would you call these people? These people are called sports fans or spectators, or we might simply refer to it as the crowd. And there might be a couple of other names. If you think you got it wrong, that's okay. But yes, we would call these people spectators. We would call them the crowd. We would call them sports fans. Just give me one sec here. I'm going to check if I can change a setting to make things a little quicker. I think I usually set the response time a little faster, and I don't think I can change that while a lesson is happening. That's too bad. I'll have to remember that next time. Usually when this is only my second one, but usually when I do a quiz mode lesson, I try to speed up or reduce the amount of time between when I show the slide and you can respond. But I see a lot of good answers. So, I should go back to this. Here we go. So you have sports fans, but then you have sports fans who are kind of crazy about the team. They like the team so much that they do things like this with their hair, or everywhere they go in life, they wear t-shirts or other things that have the logo of the sports team on it. So we called these people sports fans. This is also a fan, but it has an extra part to the word. So you'll have to guess what that one is. This is what we call a super fan. So a super fan is someone who goes to as many games as they possibly can. They probably talk about the sport way too much. Maybe you work with someone who's a super fan of a certain team. But you could also call this person a hardcore fan or someone who is very dedicated. But a super fan is the way we would describe it. So this is the action here is what I'm looking for. What is the action of what these people are doing? It looks like they're watching some kind of game. It looks like something exciting has happened and they have decided that they are doing. They are cheering. So when you cheer, it's when you are excited because your team got a goal. When you watch a game and one of your favorite players has the ball and is moving up the field, and then when they shoot and they score, you might cheer because you are super, super excited, sorry. And then this is just the person who is, I don't want to use the word, but if you watch a sport, you're a fan. But if you do this, the general term, the common term for what this person is doing is this person is a player. So a player is a person who plays the sport. When you see someone on a field or playing baseball, they are a player. You yourself can be a player. Have you ever played soccer? Yeah, I was a soccer player when I was younger. But yes, player is what we would call this person. Now, this is a certain type of player, one who gets paid a lot of money, and their job is to play the sport. This is a player who doesn't get paid to play the sport, and there's a slight difference between how we describe them. So this, I think, is this is Beckham, isn't it? Yeah. So this is someone who gets paid to play the sport. And this is someone who doesn't get paid to play the sport. So you have to figure out what would we call this person and what would we call this person. We would call this person a professional athlete. We would call this person an amateur athlete. Most of us, I would think, are amateur athletes. We play for fun. But if you're good enough, if you're a really good football player, a really good baseball player, you might actually get paid to play the game. That would be really cool. So this is a professional athlete. This is an amateur athlete. So the group of people, so these guys are actually pretty happy. I think they might have won something, but what would we call this group of people? The general term for a whole bunch of people who wear the same uniform and play the same sport. What would we call those people? That's the name I'm looking for. And so what would we call all of these people? We would call them a team. So pretty basic vocabulary. Hopefully you know the words player and you know the words team. The word team. I am going to get to some more advanced vocabulary now. So if you were thinking that this lesson was too easy, hold on tight. It's about to get a little more challenging. So when you have a team, not everyone gets to play. So what I'm showing you in this picture are the 5 people who play when the game begins. So if you look at a basketball team, it has 15, 20 people, but only 5 people can play on the court. If you look at a football team, I think it's 11 people can play, but they have a team of 20 or 30. So what do you call the people who play right at the beginning of the game? This is a tricky one. I'll let you think about it. I'm trying not to use a certain word, but I'll use it now. What do you call the players who start the game? I think someone's going to get it. We'll see. This is the starting lineup. So when you go to watch a game, often they will announce the starting lineup. They will name the players who are going to be playing right at the beginning of the game. It's kind of prestigious. It's a real honor to be on the starting lineup. It means that you're a really, really good player. And then this one, there's a little bit of a giveaway. If you look at his shirt, it has the letter C on it. when you have a team, you have players on the team, and you have this isn't the coach, by the way. It's not the coach. So you have players, and then you have like maybe an older player who's very wise and knows a lot about the game. And then you have the coach. This is not the coach. So this is what we would call the captain. So the captain of the team is usually a very wise, experienced player who knows a lot about the game. Maybe they've played for 5 or 6 or 10 years. And the team has a captain, so that there's a player who's also a leader on the team. Now, this is, I just used this word in the previous slide where I showed you a captain. This person is teaching this kid how to play a sport. This person is going to decide who is going to be on the starting lineup. This person is going to, during the game, decide if they should substitute people or whether they should keep people in the game or change players. This person is called a coach. Not a couch, a coach. Slightly different word, but this is a coach. A coach is someone who helps someone learn to play the game, and also someone who teaches people and then actually manages the game as it's happening. So there's a couple names for this person depending on the sport. When you play a sport, there are rules, and you need to have someone to enforce the rules. You need to have someone who can decide if a player made a mistake or made an error or broke the rules. And this person usually wears some kind of uniform like this, usually black and white stripes. And there are a couple names. The two names, depending on the sport, again, are referee or umpire. So again, if you play baseball, we call them umpires. If you play hockey, it's called a referee. By the way, a referee, the short form is ref. So sometimes you'll hear people will say, oh, the refs weren't very good last night at the game. And they mean referee, the person who helps make sure that everyone plays by the rules. Hey, let's go to questions. Let me have a sip of water as well. Let me get the first question on the screen. I've got a few questions here to answer. Let me test the audio for a sec as well. There we go. Everything's working great. That's what I see. The ref on my left, Bob the Canadian on my right. That's what I see. Yes. And then Yusuki says coach is in a couch. Yeah, coach and couch, slightly different words. I see someone saying judge. You know, in some sports it might be, because I think you have like a goal judge. So the player or the person with the black and white stripes, though, is usually called an umpire or a referee. Ruslan, hello, the best ever teacher, Bob. What do you like more, boxing or MMA? I like MMA a little bit. Who is your favorite athlete in the sport? Have a nice sunny weekend. I don't watch it enough to know who my favorite athlete is. Here's what I will say about MMA, which is mixed martial arts. If I'm flicking through the channels and there's a fight on, I might stop and watch it for a little bit. I'm not so interested that I would, plan to watch a game, but I would definitely, if I'm flipping through the channels or flicking through the channels, I might stop. Denis says, hello, Bob. After the Maple Leafs elimination, will you be rooting for the Oilers in the finals? Yes. It's been over 3 decades since a Canadian team lifted the Stanley Cup. That is correct. That is what I would do. Canadians generally always cheer for whatever Canadian team is remaining. So I think the Oilers play the Panthers tomorrow at 8 p.m. it says. So definitely I would be cheering for, good use of the word, I will be rooting for, cheering for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm going to skip questions that aren't related to the topic. Sorry about that, but I do a lesson where you can ask open questions. Let's see here. There's a lot of questions not related to the topic. Let me just keep moving along. Let's see here. Yeah, that's kind of strange. They all seem to be from the same person. I think someone flooded the form with non-sports related questions. Here we go. From MD. Hi, Bob. Can we say diehard fan? Thanks and have a good day. Yes. A diehard fan is a super fan, It's someone who really, really, really enjoys the game. Really, really likes one team and enjoys watching that team play. So, hey, just a reminder, folks, if you're asking a question, make sure it's on topic. Make sure it's related to sports. We're all here to learn some sports vocabulary. So the more on topic you can be, the better. That is awesome for me. So there were a lot of questions that were just grammar questions, but I like this lesson to be about sports for sure. Okay, it looks like I am then done the questions. I can get back to the lesson. Let me have a sip of water, and I will do that. Forget where we're at. Oh yes, I need to go here and then here. So sometimes you play the game, but before you play the game, you do things so that you're good at the game. You might have a coach, you see the coach over there, and you might wear what are called, we call them pinnies. You see the orange and yellow. And you do this because in order to get better at the game, you need to, I'm trying to not use the word. This is a hard one. They are doing something so that they can get better. Maybe the coach is going to teach them new things. Maybe there's certain moves they need to make when they play a game and they want to make sure they're good at it. So they're going to do that. I think that there's a few other words that could go with this, but the word I'm looking for is practice or training. And I know stretching or warm up, the picture's a little bit misleading. There's a number of things that could be happening here. My words I was looking for were practice or training. Often on the day a team doesn't play, they might have practice or they might have training. I think though you could say that in this picture, maybe they are warming up as well. Maybe they're getting ready to play. But definitely for this one, I was looking for the word practice or the word training. Okay, so this is the place. Oh, actually I have to look because I forgot which one this is. Oh, this is a tricky one. I don't know if you'll get this one. If you look, the people are on the field and they are actually currently doing what is the opposite of this. So before, you might practice and train because you want to do really well on the day when you actually have a game. So sorry, this was a little misleading. We're going to get to things like stadium and that in a moment. But to me, I was choosing this because it is a game. So you might have a hockey game tomorrow night. You might have a hockey match tomorrow night. You might be playing in a tennis match tomorrow. So game and match, you kind of have to figure out. Most sports you can use both, I think. Like a volleyball match, a volleyball game, but generally you'll want to figure out which one makes more sense. Okay, I think the next one will be a little more straightforward. I put arrows on the pictures. So there's an orange arrow here pointing to an item that a referee, a ref, or umpire will use during a game. So sometimes they need to stop play. They need to let the players know that someone broke the rules. Okay, so they make a sound using this device. They blow and you'll have to tell me what it is. And then I'll reveal the word in just a moment. It's not nice as a player when you make a mistake or when you break the rules and then you hear the referee or the umpire blow the whistle. Kind of a funny word. A lot of more letters than you actually need, but that is a whistle, and he's giving a red card, so it must be a football or soccer match. But yes, the referee will blow the whistle if someone makes a mistake in the game or breaks the rules. I say both because sometimes players, they'll trip another player on purpose. Sometimes they'll accidentally step out of bounds. So sometimes they decide to do something wrong, and sometimes it's just an accident, right? They didn't mean to do it. Well, that was a reveal. That was a spoiler. When fans go to watch a game, they will often sit here. So when I go to watch a baseball game or a soccer game, actually, if you watch my video, Learn English at the Park, you would have seen this. These are the places where you sit when you go to watch a game. And then, of course, I accidentally revealed the name already. We would call these the stands or we would call them the bleachers. So both words can be used interchangeably. You go and you sit in the stands, you go and sit in the bleachers. So often if you go to a park, you'll see baseball diamonds and you'll see soccer fields, and there will be stands on the side for people to sit in. So you can sit in the stands, you can sit on the bleachers. I see Mode mentioning that, yes. Kind of weird, right? You sit in the stands, you sit on the bleachers. I don't know why we use in for one and on for the other, but that's how we describe them. So there are, well, in most sports, there is a team that doesn't need to travel to play. And then there's a team that has to go on a bus or an airplane to play. And we kind of refer to them in this way. I'm kind of giving away this one because on this scoreboard, it actually says the names, but we would call this the home team. So if you're from a town, let's say you're from Toronto, and then you are playing a game, you're the home team. Maybe you're playing a team from Edmonton. They would then be the away team or the visiting team or the guest team. So sorry to reveal those words so quickly, but yes, you have a home team and then you have the away. And you'll hear people say this sometimes at a tournament. They still have to give people the name home or away because often our scoreboards say home and away. So sometimes you'll be at a tournament far away and you'll say, are we home or away in this game? Because you want to know which team you are. But you might be the visitor. It should actually say visiting team, the visiting team, the guest team. That's not used quite as much, or the away team. So home and away are the two names we use. Now we're getting into the names of the buildings. So now you can start to guess, like if this was a place you went to, you would say you are going where? Where are you going? What is this place called? There's slightly different names depending on what sport you're going to watch. But what do you think this is called? What would you call this large building with a huge parking lot around it? We would call this a stadium. Oh, sorry, kind of revealed that. I'm not so good at the clicking this morning. We would call this a stadium. When you go to watch something in a stadium, it's usually something like a football game, a soccer game. Those are usually stadiums. You might go to a concert at a stadium. Next fall, Taylor Swift is coming to Canada, and she is playing a series of concerts at a stadium. That's a lot of people, like 50,000 people, maybe 60,000 people in a stadium. If it's an American football stadium, maybe 100,000 people in the stadium. It's kind of crazy how many people they can fit in a stadium. A very, very big place. So if you play hockey, though, we use a slightly different name. You can see here, this is an ice rink. That's not the word I'm looking for. I'm looking for the name of the whole building where you would play hockey. So if you are going to a football game, you're going to go to a stadium. If you're going to a hockey game, you're actually going to go to an arena. So an arena, a hockey arena. When I went to see the Toronto Maple Leafs, we went to a hockey arena to watch them. They play in Toronto at the Scotiabank Center, and it is a large arena, a hockey arena. Most Canadian towns, even small towns, have a hockey arena. It's kind of cool. Hockey is a well-loved sport here in Canada, so we have a lot of arenas. And then for baseball, you can say stadium, but there's another word for a place where you play baseball. Baseball is a very popular sport in the United States. And there is, like Jen and I went to see a Blue Jays game and we went to the stadium, but you could also use another word to describe this. It's going to be a little tricky to think of, I think. This could also be called a ballpark. So ballpark is the word we use to talk about a place where you can go and watch baseball, or a place where you can go to play baseball. You can definitely do that. And then this is kind of outside. I'm looking for the name of the place where the people are on. So you have an ice rink, you have a football pitch, but this is for basketball. Also the same word is used for tennis. This is something that we might call, or we do call, a court. So you play basketball on a basketball court. You play tennis on a tennis court. It is the place where you go if you want to play those sports. Oh, and then this one I kind of cut out, and I think I just said it actually. There's two words for this. I'm not sure if I put, oh yeah, I did put both words on the next slide. But this is where you would play soccer. This is where you would play football. This is where you would play American football. We have a couple different names for this. One is very, I think a little more British, but we would call this field or the pitch. So you play soccer on a soccer field. You play soccer on a soccer pitch. You play football on a football field. You play football on a football pitch. So both words. I do think pitch is a little more British, but for me in Canada, I understand both words. Both make sense to me. Okay, so this is not race car. This is a race car, but I'm looking for the name of what you call all of racing. There's a name for it. It starts with an M. I'll give you a little hint. This is something that people go to see. They are into something called, I think I should just tell you, because this is, I think you might remember this one. You might not remember this one if you watch the other lesson. I see that some people do remember it though. Very cool. We would call this motorsports. So if you like motorsports, it means you like going to the track. You like watching people drive cars really fast. You like watching race car drivers in their race cars driving in a race. So it's very, very fun. I used to watch motorsports a little bit more. My brother really likes watching Formula One. There's also Indy and NASCAR. There's a couple different high levels of motorsports in North America and in the world. Formula One is probably the most popular one, right? And in the world as a world sport. And then NASCAR is a lot more American. So, but motorsports is the name. So what's the name of the surface that they drive on? So I think I might have said this word as I was describing motorsports, but in this picture you can see the orange arrow and it's pointing to the surface they drive on. And we call this the racetrack or just the track. So when you go to watch a game, you might say, oh, I'm going to go to the track to watch some car racing. I'm going to go to the racetrack to watch some car racing. And then when you're at the track or you're at the racetrack, they will drive on the racetrack really, really fast. It's kind of crazy. I've been to a few smaller races at the racetrack and it's pretty fun to watch. So notice, I just realized you go to the racetrack and they drive on the racetrack. So we kind of use it to describe the place as a whole, but also the actual little road that they drive on. So racetrack. So it's pretty simple. When you have any kind of game, when you go watch a sports game, they often will tell you who is winning and who is losing. And they do that by showing you numbers. So you might look up because you want to know who's winning and who's losing. And we call this simply the score. So you want to know the score. You'll ask questions like this. What's the score? Who's winning? What's the score? And you might look at the scoreboard and, oh, I think I just might have revealed the next one. I have to stop doing that. You might look at the scoreboard in order to figure out what the score is. So usually when you go to a game, especially a game where they keep score, that's how we say that, you keep score. And if you want to know what the score is, you will look at a scoreboard. So a scoreboard will tell you what the score is. So in this one, you have to be aware that the ball is going to go in the net. Okay, so this person is about to kick the ball. The ball is going to go in the net and everyone is going to cheer. So I'm reviewing some vocabulary there. But what do we call it when the ball goes in the net? What do you say when the puck goes in the net in a hockey game? What do we refer to this as? There's two words that we would use to describe this. We would say either that they are going to score a goal, or they are going to score a point, or they are going to get a point. You can also get a goal. Were they able to get a goal at the end of the game? Yes, they scored a goal. So in most sports, like in hockey, it's a goal. In football, we would say they score So that's a little different. I'm talking about American football. In soccer, or what most people call football, you would get a goal or you would get a point. And then also, you would say this person is going to shoot on net. They are going to take a shot and they are hoping that they will get a goal or they will get a point. Oh, yes. And this is what happens when you win every single game in the season. Oh, sorry. I think I just used the word again. I am failing at this English lesson today. Oh, and the picture is a little bit off the screen. We would call this a win. When two teams play, usually one team will win. Sometimes it will end in a tie. Sometimes it'll be 1-1. But most sports have something that you do so you can't have a tie. Usually you hope that someone will win the game, and you hope that someone, well, you don't hope that someone will, but I should have went to this one. There we go. Now we can see all of it. These people are happy. I'm not going to say what team this is. I think if you look at the uniform, you can figure it out. The country starts with an A. This was a fun game to watch, by the way. This was it a couple years ago? Even Bob the Canadian in Canada watched this game. I think this is the game. Yes, I think that's World Cup. Anyways, a win. A win makes people happy. It makes the fans happy, the players happy, and all of that. And then, of course, you have the opposite. So the opposite of a win would then be sadness. No, it would be a loss. So you have people who win and you have people who lose. And when you talk about it as a win and as a loss, you use those two words. So you can have a win when you play a game, or you can have a loss. You can win when you play a game, or you can lose. Notice it flips when I make it the verb. So, hey, we're going to go to members only chat. Let me get that set up for a sec. We'll do that for about 10 minutes. I think we have plenty of time to do that. Let's see here. Let me go to members only chat mode. I think I did that right. I will continue answering questions from the forum if they are related to sports. So here we go. First one from Nightbreak. I'll answer this question. Have a sip of water and wait for members to ask questions. By the way, if you're wondering what members only chat is, it's a time during the live English lesson when members can ask questions directly in the chat. It's one of the perks you get as a member. From Nightbreak. Hello, Bob. I hope you're doing great. My question is, what exactly is the difference between football and rugby? Because for a long time, I thought they were the same thing. No, they're not the same thing. So I don't exactly know all the differences, but one major difference is in rugby, you can carry the ball as well as kick it. You can use your hands. In soccer or football, you can't. I have to be careful here, though, because I'm going to use the word soccer. I know most of you say football. In soccer, you can only use your feet. With rugby, you can use your feet and hands. And with American football, you can only really use your hands, and sometimes you kick. So, but no, I can't give you a complete description. It is played on a rugby field. You are allowed to hit people as well in rugby. I think it's a rougher sport for sure. But yeah, you'll have to watch a little bit of it to see for sure. Freddie, the overseas guy. Hi, Bob. On Sunday, a friendly soccer play is going to take place versus your Canadian national team. Will you support your team in order to not lose against us? Yes, I will cheer for Canada. And I am hopeful that Canada will do well and that they will win. Although the amount of expertise on European teams is usually much higher. I think eventually Canada will have really good soccer. We have really good women's soccer. Our men's soccer team, though, sometimes doesn't qualify to play at world level. So hopefully they do really, really well. That would be nice. From Samuel, we see here. Samuel, hi, Bob. What is usually taught in PE classes in Canadian elementary schools? Thank you. So mostly we try to get kids outside, and we try to teach them a lot of team sports. So they will play some baseball. They will play some soccer. They will play... Trying to think, they will do some individual sports as well, like learning to run fast and jump and all that stuff. And then inside, they'll play things like volleyball. They might play a little bit of what we call ball hockey. So ball hockey is a very popular sport for kids in Canada. Instead of using a puck and playing on ice, you play hockey on like in a gymnasium with a tennis ball or a hockey ball. They actually make hockey balls. So that is just some of the things. But most of the common sports are taught in elementary schools. Lolly Lolly says, sport isn't my cup of tea. Ah, yes. For some people, sport, either playing it or watching it, just isn't as interesting as it is for others. Wanda says, hi, Teacher Bob. Do you like Brazil's football? Thanks. So I have to be careful here because in one lesson, I forget what I said. I said something about a certain football team, a certain soccer team in a positive way, but then people from other countries got very angry with me. So I have to be very cautious about what I say about different countries. I like everyone's football team and I like watching the World Cup and I cheer for every team when I watch the World Cup. There you go. I do have favorites though. I just don't think football fans around the world have very strong feelings about their team. So it's a little dangerous to say whose team is your favorite. But I will say that I sometimes cheer for a team that has the color orange related to them. And sometimes I cheer for a team that has three colors on their flag, tricolor. But I'm revealing too much now. But I like everyone else as well. Mode says, hey, Mr. Bob, what do you call those articles of clothing in the warm-up slide again? We call them pinnies. It's like a little vest and they're different colors. I think they have a variety of names. I just want to see if that's a Canadian pinny to play sports. Pinnies, yeah, that's what we call them. Pinnies. So when you play, like if I go to the gym and play a game at lunch against students, one team might wear pinnies, so you know who your teammates are. Let's see here. Lolly Lolly says to keep. Freddie says American football and rugby seems to be quite similar. Nevertheless, I don't know enough the rules in order to understand what happens on the field. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes, right? I was trying to explain baseball to someone who had never played baseball before. It's hard. There's so many little rules when you're trying to teach someone about a sport. R. Am says ballpark has a figure of meaning when talking about money. Yes. So if I was selling a car and I wanted $5,000 for it, and someone said, I'll give you $4,500, I could say, you're in the ballpark, but I need a little bit more. When you're in the ballpark, when you're talking about money, it means the price you're suggesting is kind of close. Okay, so it's like, yeah, that's almost what I'm hoping to get for it. Mode says, yeah, not gonna lie, one of the reasons I quit watching and playing football was the fans. They could really use some more sportsmanship. Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate enthusiasm, but sometimes things can be a little more, people get quite into it. I would say when we went to the baseball game the other night, there were a lot of people really into it. Pretty excited. Pedro, good morning, Bob. I'm a big fan of Formula One and football. This week there will be a race in Canada at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Really cool. Have a great day, sir. Yes, very cool. I'm not. My brother, I'll be seeing my brother in a week or two, and he really loves Formula One, so I'll ask him a little bit about it. I'm not sure I will be watching it though. Let's see here. Yeah, so that question. Let's see. Freddie says, Bob, if you would have been a professional player or sportsman, what kind of sport would you have chosen? You know, that's interesting because I often think I would have loved being a hockey player, but now I'm thinking more, I think I would have liked being a baseball player. And here's the reason. In some sports, you can play for a long time, and I find baseball is a little more relaxing. So I guess as I get older, I think to myself, oh, baseball would be a very cool sport to play. So I'm going to skip a question because it's not related to sports. I'm going to switch off members only mode and have a sip of water, and we will get back to the lesson in just a moment. Let me do that. Yes, and let me get a sip of water. and we will start the lesson again in just a bit. Oh, yeah, there's actually 3 large jugs of water here. Totally unrelated thing. This is how we get our water. There's a fill up station in town that's free, and we take our jugs there to get water because we live out in the country, so we don't have water. Like, we have water for like washing and all those things, but we don't drink it. Oh yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier. When a game has a score like this, what do we call it? So each team has scored a couple points. Each team has scored a couple goals. And now you're sitting there and you really want your team to win, but currently it is a tie. So we use the word tie to talk about a score where both teams have the same number of points. I kind of forgot the word for this one. Oh, I remember the word for this one. Here's the description. Are you ready? It's tie. It's a sport where the game can't end in a tie. And so when the game is tied and there's 1:26 left, when the clock goes to 0, they will need to play what we call overtime. So when a game goes into overtime, when you have to play overtime, it means you play past the normal length of the game. So if the game has 3 20-minute periods, or if it has 2 45-minute halves and no one has won, you might have to actually go into overtime. You might have to play longer in order to win the game. Oh, and tiebreaker, that's a good one as well. You might have to play a tiebreaker. And some games have what are called shootouts, where each team can shoot straight on the net in order to figure out who has won the game. When you're on the court, when you're on the starting lineup, you're playing, and these people are sitting on something that we have a special name for. They're chairs, but we actually call this something else. So we would say these people are on the bench. So we even sometimes say that someone's a bench player. That's a player who doesn't actually play very often. So when you're on the starting lineup, you get to start the game. If you're not on the starting lineup, you sit on the bench and you wait for the coach to put you into the game. Sometimes people wait a long time to get put into a game. So this is what players wear. So when you are on a team, you want to wear the same thing as your teammates. And it doesn't really work to just say everyone wear a blue shirt, okay? And sometimes when you're on a team, you'll have a number as well, and you want that number to be visible, so when you break the rules, the referee can say, hey, number 10, yellow card, number 10, because the referee won't necessarily know your name. So what you do is you get a uniform, and you all wear a uniform so that you look the same. The funny thing is the word uniform also means to be the same. So if I cut stuff into uniform sizes, I means I'm cutting them all the same. And when you wear a uniform, you all look the same. This is I'm looking for the general term for all the things you use in order to play a sport. So when you play certain sports, you need things. You need a ball, you might need a hockey stick, you might need a badminton racket. So the general term for all of these things is, we call this equipment or sports equipment. So if you want to play ping pong, you might go to a sports equipment store and buy a ping pong paddle. If you break your hockey stick, you might need to buy a new one. So you need new equipment. So this also refers to, like, if you wear padding, if you wear elbow pads, any kind of racket, any kind of stick, any kind of ball, all of these things we would call sports equipment. So there are a number of arrows here pointing to the names of companies. This is a race car, but this car has people, or companies actually, that give them money so that they can afford to be in races. And we call those companies sponsors. So sometimes when you play a sport, you will have a sponsor. A company will give money to help pay for your uniform, maybe to help pay for the bus ride, maybe to help pay for advertising. And so a sponsor is a company that gives money so that their name is on the uniform. Maybe it's on the car you drive. I don't think it's in the picture of the uniform I had, but often uniforms will have a little, like it might have like Coca-Cola or something else on it. So when you play a professional sport, you have a team and you play against other teams who are the same level as you. Like their players are almost as good as your players or better. And so we say that you play in what we call a league. So this is the symbol. I think this is the National Football League for in America. Is this the Euro Football League? I'm not exactly sure. But when you play a sport, you will often play in a league. And that is the group of teams that are all around your level, the same caliber, we might say. And you play against them, and then hopefully eventually one of you will win. When you play in that league, you will have this. It kind of looks like a list of dates, and it tells you when you will be playing. It tells you where you will be playing, and it tells you who you will be playing against. And so we call this a schedule. So you will have a schedule for your season. And do I have the word season on here? I don't think I do. A season is the length of time in the year where you play your game. So you will have a schedule, and then your fans will have a schedule, and you'll know when you're playing, where you're playing, and who you're playing against. And then as the year goes along, you will see lists like this on the internet or in newspapers that show you how well the teams are doing. So maybe your team is the Toronto Blue Jays. On this list, they are in third place in the league. And we call this the standings. It's kind of a funny way to describe it. Like, oh, where are we in the standings? Oh, we're in second place. Or have you seen the standings for this league? That team has been in first place for 90 days. So the standings, that's the word we use to describe kind of as you go through your season, as you go through the schedule, you will have a certain spot in the standings. So this is a little bit different. This is like when you go for a day or maybe 2 days to play one sport against a bunch of other teams. So you might play all day Friday. You might have 3 games on a Friday and 4 games on a Saturday. And we call this type of event when you go and play against a bunch of different teams over 2 or 3 days, we call it a tournament. And it can be longer. A tournament can last a couple of weeks, but a tournament happens outside of the regular season. So you have your regular season and you have standings, and at the end you'll have your championship. But during the season, you might just go play in a tournament, maybe for fun, maybe just because you want more practice, you might play in a tournament. At the end of a regular season, though, you have, the words on the picture. I just realized that. During a regular season, though, you might play what are called the playoffs. So you want to do good enough during the season that you make the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, you want to win as many games as you can so that you can hopefully win everything. And I think that's actually the next slide. You want to make it to the finals. You want to make it to the championship. So the championship or the finals, it's the last 2 teams at the end of the playoffs or at the end of a tournament. So how did you do in the tournament? We made it to the championship, but we lost. How did you do in your season? Well, we made it to the finals and we won. So, and also you could describe this, yes, as this is a bracket as well. So the structure of the tournament can be referred to as a bracket. Yes, nice work, Mode. And then, of course, we just did this one, didn't we? Losing track. You want to make it to the finals or championship. Yes. This is a bad thing in sports. When the referee, or if it was a different sport, an umpire blows the whistle, you are going to have something happen. Depending on the sport, you might be getting something called a penalty, or you might be getting something called a card. So in football, you might get a yellow card or red card. In hockey, you might get a penalty, a minor or major penalty. and then you have to sit in the penalty box. Not a nice feeling. And then, this is what happens when things go really badly. Instead of being able to keep playing, you have to leave. You aren't allowed to play at all anymore. And in English, we say this is when you are ejected. When you get ejected from the game, it's not a good thing. It's bad. It means you probably got angry. Maybe you swore at the refs or umpires. So definitely not a good thing. If you get a red card, you are asked to leave and you can't play anymore. And then lastly, sports fields and places where you play have a designated area where you can play. And then right at the edge, we have a special word. It starts with S for what is where this person is standing. Actually, this person is not on the field. They're just off the field. They're standing on the sideline or the sidelines. We often use plural. He was on the sidelines, right? Or the players were standing on the sidelines cheering on their team. So sometimes the bench players stand on the sideline and they cheer on their team. Hey, that's the end of the regular lesson. I'm going to answer a few questions and then we're going to wrap this up and I'm going to go to work. Let me see if I have some questions. From Hobart, dear Teacher Bob, what's your favorite sport? Which one attracts you? Thank you in advance. Right now, I really enjoy watching American baseball. I guess I can just say baseball. But the Toronto Blue Jays, there's a team in Toronto, and I'm really enjoying watching baseball. From Ben, who is your favorite Blue Jay of all time? Oh, that's hard to say. Right now, I like Varsho. He's an outfielder. He's probably one of my favorite players right now. I also like Alejandro Kirk. He's the catcher. He actually shares duties with another player called Danny Jansen. So I like both of them, but I like when Kirk's playing. Favorite baseball player of all time, or Blue Jay of all time. I think I have to think about that one. I watched a lot of baseball when I was a kid. My dad really, really enjoyed watching baseball. So I would have to think about that one. The Avril Lavigne fan. Teacher Bob, how are you? How can I say I support a team? You just say you're a fan. Yes. Yeah, I'm a fan of this team. Do you watch baseball? Yeah. What team are you a fan of? Oh, I'm a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays. Or I love watching the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm a big fan. We use that a lot. Big fan. Oh, I'm a big fan of baseball. I'm a big fan of the Toronto Blue Jays. From Ralph, hope you're doing good. Just wondering, do you use the word uniform for both sports teams, outfits, and military gear? We use different words, so I'm curious. Yes. Yes, if you're in the Army, you have a uniform. If you're in the Air Force, you have a uniform. If you play for the Toronto Blue Jays, you have a uniform. Okay, thank you so much for watching, all of you. That is very awesome. Thanks a lot. I'm just checking something here. I'm not going to click that. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up. I got to go to work. I'm feeling a little rushed today, so hopefully that didn't come through in the lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I am going to quick end the lesson. So bye, everyone. Have a great day. This was fun. I'll see you with a new video on Tuesday. By the way, this lesson will come out in a shorter form in a couple days. Do watch it to kind of repeat. And you can also go and watch the original. There's a version of this lesson where I teach all these words. So that would be good to do as well. Anyways, bye. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Have fun.